So one of the things that I feel like is not talked about enough when it comes to birth preparation is perineal prep. One of the body parts that we forget about is that beautiful pelvic floor. And we talk so much about, we have to be doing our pelvic floor exercises, contracting them and making sure that they're strong and toned. And yes, for sure, it's so important that we are maintaining strength in our pelvic floor. But I would argue that even more importantly is for us to be able to allow our pelvic floor to yield, to relax fully. Because in order for our baby's head and body to rotate and come through the pelvic floor, it has to be able to yield. It has to be able to just step back and relax and let our babies come through. And there are so many ways in which we move in our daily life, in the fast pace, in the way that we live, that we hold a lot of tension in our bodies, in particular in our pelvic floor. And so today I'm going to go through several little movements that I like to encourage you to incorporate into your day, into your birth preparation, that are going to help you to prepare your pelvic floor for birth. And if we can have a pelvic floor that carries both tone but is also yielding, we are more likely to have a smoother birth experience overall, but also a smoother postpartum recovery. So one of the first things that I like to remind my clients of is that we have 3 diaphragms in our body. The first one being just here around the vocal cords, around the jaw. The next one being just above our respiratory system. And the next one being down below where our pelvic floor is. And so if we are carrying a lot of tension, both in the way that we breathe, so if we're struggling to that lovely 3D breath with that nice rib expansion, if we're maybe wearing very tight bra straps, or we're just struggling and doing a lot of this kind of chest breathing, we are not allowing the capacity for that diaphragm to move accordingly. And we're also I find a lot of my clients who have maybe high stress, high pressure jobs, high pressure lifestyles, carry a lot of tension in the jaw. And so the first thing that we're going to do to prepare our bodies and our pelvic floor for birth is to start with a little bit of jaw massage. I want you to just start by relaxing your jaw, let it go soft, move it side to side. Maybe start with a little bit of massage, very gently massaging here, just 2 fingers. Kind of moving up towards the ear, feeling into where there might be any tenderness, and maybe just lingering there a moment longer. You might want to start this massage with a nice warm compress, maybe just rubbing your hands together and just placing them over the jaw. And this is a lovely thing for your birth partner or your doula to also remind you. Soft jaw, soft pelvic floor. Relax your jaw. And they might even just place a finger or 2 here just to remind you to soften. Because if we can soften here, there's a direct correlation with how we can soften our pelvic floor. So that's really, really important. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with that pelvic floor jaw connection. The next thing that I want you to do when it comes to our perineal prep is looking at the way that we are moving during the day and thinking, okay, how can we create softness here? So let's start by doing some adductor rocks. You're going to extend your foot out to the side and you're going to just relax back in, feeling that nice stretch along the posterior body, along that back body. You might find that you have tension along a certain point, and I want you to just really breathe into that tension. You might want to add in some nice sounds here to release that. So relaxing your face, relaxing your jaw, relaxing your pelvic floor. So that's the adductor rock. And then you, as with everything, we'll do it onto the other side. For now, we're going to move on to the next movement, which is a child's pose with internal rotation. So with a child's pose, we're going to be leaning forward, but I want you to start with the internal rotation, which means knees in, calves out. It can just be a small amount. And then you're going to relax back. Oh, you can tell I'm tight here. I can't go that far, but you can feel the sits bones opening, the nice stretch happening back here. And then holding that, taking a few deep breaths, really melting into that sensation, breathing into any tenderness. Another one that can be particularly nice, and I don't have one with me, is a nice soft ball, whether it's a laundry ball or a slightly deflated tennis ball, and just popping that underneath where the pelvic floor is, even a couple of socks all bound up into a ball, and just feeling into where there might be tenderness along that pelvic floor. That's a really lovely way for us to allow release to happen. The next one that I want you to do is called Happy Baby, and this is a really lovely position that might feel less available to you the more pregnant that you are, but we're going to get onto our backs and just hold onto our ankles. Lying down our side first, and then coming across, grabbing onto your ankles, and then just allowing yourself to rock in here, feeling that softness happen. This is really lovely for releasing the pelvic floor, but absolutely not a position we want to be birthing our babies in. And then the last little perineal prep exercise that I want you to do is called a 90-90. So we're coming up into a seated position, allowing our knees to fall to the right, and then fall to the left. By finding ways that we can create mobility and finding this movement during our pregnancy, we are much more likely to be able to find the space, the relaxation, and the movement when it comes to birthing our babies. So finding that softness, being able to breathe into it, being able to release the tension, and then finding those stretches and movements for perineal pelvic floor prep for birth are so important. I hope you found this video helpful.